This ain't Trump's first rodeo. The Democrat spin doctors continue to have their tariff tantrums, but they're missing the point entirely. Canada, Mexico, and especially China are allowing the facilitation of an unprecedented number of American deaths at the hands of fentanyl. And Trump's not going to let them get away with it. Listen to Canada's Minister of Energy trying to undermine this crisis.
The administration has made clear the concerns regarding border issues, particularly illegal migration and fentanyl. I think it needs to be recognized that the scale of these issues at the Canada-US border are not particularly significant. Fentanyl from Canada represents 0.2% of US seizures of fentanyl at the border. And in fact, last year, American border enforcement seized just 43 pounds of fentanyl from the Canada-US border. Not a lot more than the seizures that go the other way.
Thousands of organized crime groups operate in Canada to traffic drugs. President Trump's no fool about these tariffs.
I would say that to the volatility in the market, those who are creating that, you should trust in Trump because the volatility there is playing on false fears. China is the quarterback in the fentanyl problem. Mexico and Canada are the wide receivers. And what I mean by that is all of the fentanyl problem begins in the chemical labs of communist China. They come over here with their what they call fentanyl precursors. They send it into Mexico. Those go into the drug cartel labs, not just in Mexico, but also now in Canada.
Joining us to react, a member of both the Senate Finance Committee and the Senate Homeland Security Committee, Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, thanks for joining us. Canadians, hey, it's not that big a deal. You know, it's not much, just 43 pounds.
Well, it's a huge deal. Yeah, when I was chairman of the committee, this is a number of years ago, the statistics we had on it, $800 worth of precursor chemicals turned into $800,000 of street value deadly fentanyl. So this is an enormous problem. I believe that Peter Navarro is correct when he said this is really a drug war, and President Trump is using tariffs effectively. He used them effectively, for example, when he initiated his remain in Mexico policy and Mexico wasn't cooperating, wasn't working. He had to threaten tariffs. As soon as Mexico cooperated, we basically secured the border. So, yeah, I think President Trump, again, there are multiple uses for tariffs. This is one of them to try and get countries to cooperate to help us secure our border and really try and prevent fentanyl deaths here in this country, which are an enormous problem in America.
It's really disgusting, quite frankly, Senator, what that Canadian Minister of Energy said. Just 43 pounds. 43 pounds of fentanyl is enough to kill more than 9.7 million Americans. So if you put it like that, just to be so dismissive about drugs coming into the United States, and it's all coming from China. But bigger picture, Peter Navarro also said, same day, that President Trump succeeds like he wants to succeed, and he was talking about tariffs to structurally shift the American economy from one over-reliant on income taxes and the Internal Revenue Service to one reliant on tariff revenue and the External Revenue Service. That's something that's going to fall on the House and the Senate when you cobble together a tax reform bill, kind of a new tax plan where some of it, much discussion about this, some of it could be a flat tariff across the board to raise revenue from foreign companies and importers.
Well, quick go back to that Canadian energy minister there. It may indicate that they're doing nothing to stop and interdict and seize fentanyl. Right. That may be why their numbers are so low. We import something like $4 to $5 trillion. I think it's closer to $4 trillion. A 10% tariff on $4 trillion is $400 billion. Our income tax raises a whole lot more than that. So I'm not sure how to replace one with the other. I certainly want to simplify and rationalize rationalize our tax code. Those types of, which is by and large the consumption tax, is a simple system. But again, the numbers have to add up here. So I'm for a 3-step reconciliation process. Let's give President Trump the funds he needs to secure the border. I would do a second step by just extending current tax policy, so we take a massive automatic tax increase off the table for 2026. And then let's take our time and get our tax system simplified, rationalized, and whatever we do, make it permanent. We didn't do that last time. That was a big mistake, which is why we're facing this massive tax increase that's going to go into effect automatically if we don't act.
No, it's a good point. Senator, I want to move on to the Trump cabinet. It does look like Donald Trump, albeit without Matt Gaetz, is going to run the table here because as you have Senator Cassidy now supportive of RFK Jr., and you have Tulsi Gabbard coming out of committee, it seems like Republicans, if they just vote for the nominees, that all the cabinet members are going to get in place. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, that was good news that Bill Cassidy voted for Bobby Kennedy. But the bottom line is what President Trump has done. He's nominated very intelligent individuals. They are articulate, they are unflappable, and they're fighters, which is what he needs to get control over the deep state. And so that comes through loud and clear in these hearings. And again, barring any disqualifying instance in their background, our job is pretty much to give the president, who won a convincing victory, the people that he wants to staff his administration and confirm his nominees. I think that's what you're seeing happening.
And on the looking at video of Robert Kennedy Jr., Senator, you are subpoenaing the Health and Human Services for records on the COVID-19 vaccine safety and Tony Fauci's communications. You've been trying to get this data for years, and it is the dawning of a new day and a new HHS.
It is, and I'm viewing these subpoenas now as friendly subpoenas, but also to let everybody, even the deep staters, know I am dead serious about getting this information. This is information that the American public pays for. We pay the bureaucrats' salary, we fund their studies. The information belongs to the American people and has been hidden for far too long. We need to find out what they've been hiding for 4 years.
What's interesting to me, Senator, is how you play out Dr. Fauci. He's given a preemptive pardon, but that's nothing moving forward. If you subpoena him and require his presence before the United States Senate to answer those questions, he's got to answer those questions truthfully here. He creates a whole nother legal problem for himself, right?
Well, first of all, he has to answer the questions. He has no excuse now. He has no Fifth Amendment to hide behind, not to incriminate himself, so he has to answer fully and truthfully. So those pardons are a double-edged sword, and from my standpoint, the number one thing we need to do in terms of accountability is to expose the corruption, expose the lies, expose the truth, so the American people really understood what happened.
Senator Ron Johnson, one of the best there in Washington, D.C., from the great state of Wisconsin. Thank you, Senator, for joining us on The Bottom Line.
Have a great evening.
Thank you, Senator.